very good. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to combine these two questions because they kind of fit together. One is the question of the Trinity. How is God 3 in 1? And then to follow up with that, another student asked, why do we always focus more on Jesus than God?
Right.
Isn't God the Father, like, should we focus more, isn't he kind of like the main character?
Yes.
And so kind of those, I think you can answer both those questions in one.
And if somebody just flashed their phone so I don't go too long, just you let me know because we want to try to get all of them in. 8:30. Okay, yeah, cool. All right, so first one's first. In the Bible, you actually have both. The reason Christians do both is because you have prayer through Jesus to God the Father in the Word, and you have prayer directly to Jesus in the Word. Almost by every New Testament person that followed Peter, James, John, you have the author of Hebrews. So we've got both those examples in the Word, and if the Trinity is real, and I think it is, I'll try to give you some reasons for it here in a second, then it's okay to interchange those things, but you actually find both models in the Word of God, and that's why Christians do it. So you see them switch in and out of that sort of thing, and that normally is okay, because the Trinity's a reality. Well, why believe in the Trinity? Great point, right? We have other monotheist, singular beliefs in a singular God, Jews and Muslims in the world. In fact, the number 2 biggest world religion is Islam, right? Well, are there good reasons to believe in a Trinity, or is it just one of those, it is a mystery, for sure, but here are at least 2 good reasons to believe in a Trinity, and here's the first. Wherever you look in the world, you find unity in diversity, everywhere. And if God created everything in existence, everywhere you look, you see it. Your body is a unity of diverse body parts, internal and external. This group are a bunch of different people in a group, right? At the atomic level, this is a bunch of different atoms that are together. They're everywhere you look, unity and diversity. And if there's unity and diversity in the effect, it needs to in some way be in the first cause. Second, what's the highest thing humans want to achieve? Unity and diversity. If you look on a quarter, I know people don't use quarters anymore, but on a quarter, it has engraved under George Washington, e pluribus unum, out of the many one. What's our country? States that come together for a country, correct? What's a family unit? Many diverse things coming together in a unity. Well, if you have that in the effect, families, people, things, everything, a solar system, if you have unity and diversity in the effect, it's best to think of unity and diversity in the first cause, right? And it's the highest achievement of human beings, and it's the most common thing we see in every created thing. The other thing is this, and it's something done by somebody much smarter than me came up with this, and this is St. Augustine. The idea is this. If God's chief characteristic isn't power, but it's love, you need 3 components for love. You need a lover, a beloved, an object of that love, and something right in between, a bonding agent for that love. Well, that means you need 3 basic things to have any love. Now, what we don't want to say is this, that God couldn't be God and be loving until humans were created, right? God needs us, or he can't be loving. He can't be his primary characteristic. But in a Trinity scenario, you have God perfectly loving in a unit prior to any human beings being created. So you have God being God well before humans come along, and then love is an overflow of that Trinitarian love that reaches us in creation. Why? Because you know this. True love doesn't ever keep it to itself. It always flows outward, right? You have one person that meets another person, and now they share that love in a marriage. And then what? In a family, right? It results in kids. So love's always working out toward others, right? That's love, and there's many different definitions of love, but that's probably, again, really short. There's lots of cool analogies that are authentic and inauthentic about the Trinity, but it's a great thing to think about. Yeah, for sure.
That's good.
Thanks.
Yeah, you guys can do
No, it's all good. No, none of that. You don't have to do that. I think, thank you. Yes.
This next question's funny to me because I think, what culture does is people will ask, in my opinion, dumb questions, and they think they're really smart.
Yes.
But sometimes those questions were like, I don't know. And so that's kind of what I think of when I think of this room, of this next one, is people think they're so smart in asking this.
Yes.
But it's like, if God created the world, then who created God?
Who made
right?
God?
Like,
Right. Yes.
They think they can stick
That's
it
right.
with that.
Stick it to it.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. It's a nonsense question. There's 2 reasons why. Here's one. Christians and Jews and even Muslims have never defined God as a being that needed a cause. We've always defined God as the first cause. So asking who made God is as stupid as asking this. Hey, who came in first in the race for speed to light? Jonathan, right? And it's like, who came before him, though? You're like, wait, Do you not know what first means? He was the first. Yeah, but who came before him, really? You're like, do you not understand the concept of first? So that's what, or somebody saying, well, who's the tallest person in the room? You say, this person's the tallest person in the room. Who's the tallest person in the room? Do you know?
Yeah, Jaden.
Jake. And then I say, yeah, but who's
Jake.
taller than Jake? Like, well, you just said tallest, right? So to say God's the first cause of all else, and to say what who caused him, is to treat God like an effect. Second reason, Christians have never, ever said that everything needs a cause. It's just created physical time-bound things need a cause. God's not time-bound, and he's not physical. So he doesn't need a cause. And here's the craziest thing, too. Atheists have a first cause. They call it the universe. The problem is all the relevant science is against it. All the relevant science is against that right now. Every bit of science we know right now says the universe began to exist and therefore needs something really, really powerful to bring it into existence and guide it in its process. So it's just not the case that's it. And here's the crazy part, too. It always drives me crazy when I was at campuses when they'd say, well, who made God, therefore there's no God. I'm like, well, even if I took that and said, well, God has a daddy God, and then daddy God has a granddaddy God, and granddaddy God has a great-granddaddy God, what you have is polytheism. You don't have atheism. So it doesn't even get you where you want to go. But the point is, it's a trick question. It's not a real question. It doesn't treat God the way we've always defined him, as a cause, not an effect.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this is an interesting one because a lot of people don't follow Jesus or don't go to church because they've been hurt by a pastor or by the church. And so that was one of the questions regarding that is what is the best way to talk to them about Jesus if they've had a problem in church before?
Yeah, I love this question. Really practical. There's a lot of people been hurt by church, right? So I'd say just 4 quick moves if you can keep them in your mind, right? Here's the first. The first is to say, hey, I don't have that church experience. I haven't, not all church. In other words, you're giving immediate evidence that not all churches are like the church they're saying, right? Second is you can remind them, if you're close enough to them in relationship, you can remind them, this is the way you think about anything else, right? If you say, I've been to France 3 times, and therefore France, well, let's not use France because it is pretty bad. I've been to London 3 times, and I've had bad experiences every single time I've been to London. And you go, therefore London's awful. It's horrible. Well, you don't think, there's a lot of people that have a positive experience in London, right? So that just isn't the case. Another thing you remind them of, if it's true that all churches are more negative towards people than positive in helping and aiding of people, you'd have most of the churches, all of them across the world, not just in Europe and America, cleared out. And last but not least, this is a big one. Christianity still makes sense of somebody that's disappointed you in church. Why? Because when we say they're saved, they're not perfected. God delivers you from your eternal consequences, but not your temporal consequences. You still have sinful habits that need to get worked out through a process of sanctification. We're very realistic about sin in Christianity. These are saved sinners, right? They're saints that still sin in the church. They don't say they're perfected or somehow hit a moral milestone. They should be improving, but that's a scale, right? C.S. Lewis said it this way. He said, I used to get mad at this woman in our church in England, Miss Grundy. He said, it's not a real name, but I call her Miss Grundy. She's awful. But I talked to a guy the other day, and I said, I don't see any of Christ in her life, barely any Jesus. Even at church, she's just a mean, miserable person. And there was a guy he met that knew her 15 years ago. He said, oh, she was much worse. This is 2.0. She's on her way out of this. She was much worse than that. Almost unbearably horrible before she came to Jesus. So remember, Christianity is realistic about sin. God delivers you from the eternal consequences, but you still have to deal with the consequences on the planet and deal with a fallen world.
Yeah. I'm going to hurt you one day, I promise, or disappoint you.
That's right. That's right.
Far from perfect.
That's right.
But why are you clapping for that?
That's awesome.
Thanks, Joseph.
That's right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We'll end on this one just for time.
You got it.
And again, guys, I asked Dr. Joe before tonight if he said he'd be more than happy to hang around.
For sure.
If you have questions, and he would love, if maybe there's something you were embarrassed to ask or didn't want to put on social media.
Sure.
Or maybe you didn't know you were able to ask a question.
For sure.
He's going to hang around after service for a little bit. You can ask some question or go to Myth the Messiah on
Absolutely.
Sunday morning.
Just check it out. Yeah.
And you can ask some questions there as well.
Absolutely.
Anytime. So I'm going to read the question, but then ask it in a little bit of a different way.
Perfect.
They said, how do we, as students, approach the people who are constantly bashing our faith?
Yeah.
Do we explain why they're wrong or just walk away from the conversation? So I guess what I'd like to answer that question, but the way I would reword it is, have you ever had someone in your life that has been just consistently bashing and you've been able to navigate that relationship and actually seen
Yes.
maybe a positive result?
Right. Yes. So this is what I suggest. Like I told you, I used to go to college campuses where they're just trying to trip you up. One of the most important things about the most professional case makers vocationally, that means in their job, in our reality are lawyers. I know there's a lot of jokes about lawyers, but one of the most important parts of a lawyering process before you go to trial is jury selection. You don't want somebody that's not at least open to being persuaded. So there is a wisdom in understanding where somebody's coming from. Somebody's bashing, but I still would suggest just walking away, because sometimes there's people around that are intimidated that need to hear something. So I would suggest just doing what I told you, asking what did you mean by X? What did you mean by that? Explain a little further. And then 2, why do you think that? That's really non-offensive. It's just asking them where they're coming from. But then you might get a chance to say things like this. Well, all right, imagine if I was trying to persuade somebody of something and all they did is call names, right? Usually when people call names and mock, they sometimes do it at the end of a bunch of arguments, okay. But when they do it in place of an argument or evidence, that means they're just trying to manipulate you. So it's a real difficult thing to say, and you can sometimes call that out. Like, there'll be times where we'll be doing an interaction at university, and somebody will lose a point about God, a big one, and they'll move on to 2 or 3 related things to just try to trip you up. And I'm like, you're moving the goalpost. You've got to first come to terms with what we've talked about right here before you move on to other things. They're just trying to trip you up. So again, pointing that out, almost like pointing to a scoreboard that's not existent when somebody's talking about these things is really important. Saying things like, I just had a guy call a couple weeks ago and was just bashing our church, bashing it on my on-call. We take calls all through the day, some days of the week. And I just said, I said, sir, what if I was trying to convince you of something and all I did is call you names? Would that be at all convincing to you? That's all you've done. You literally haven't offered me any reasons or evidence for what you believe. Nothing. Yeah, I said, I guess I'm dealing with a bunch of bigots over there. I said, I prefer to call us Bible-believing, but bigots. So, but that's, so you're calm, right? You pray, silently to yourself, and then you just ask questions and try to open them up, and then there's a time to walk away, and just kind of shake the dust off and go, okay, well, but it's good to point out what they're doing. It really helps to point out that, again, when argument and reason's replaced with calling names, that's usually because somebody doesn't have anything else to throw at you, and they're usually just trying to manipulate you. So that's something to call out and say, okay, and you're not really interested in truth, you're just trying to show off. So it happens, right? So yeah.
That actually makes me think of one more question.
Yes.
If someone's arguing with us and we don't know the answer,
yes.
Is it okay to say,
Please
I don't know?
say, I don't know. Please. Please. Odds are whatever they're coming up with has not toppled Christianity. It's still the world's #1 religion, 2.3 billion people. There are so many scholars that have dealt with these things. Only on the internet, where bad ideas go to be resurrected, do you find really, really bad ideas that they act like. But you can say, I don't know. I'll have to get back to you. It's okay. It really is okay. I don't know isn't a bad answer. It's not like, yeah, mic drop. It's saying it's being honest. And there's something about being honest that people appreciate, Yeah.
And I think I love the follow-up question, I don't know.
Yes.
Let me find out.
That's
and
right.
then you can
That's
do some
right.
research.
That's
Come
right.
to Dr. Joe works here at the church. He doesn't live in England. Like, he's here. He literally works here, and I can get you in touch with him if you have a genuine question.
Absolutely.
I know he's passionate about this stuff.
Absolutely.
So saying I don't know will be way more effective than being like, well, you don't know either.
Before Dusty prays us out, can I say one more thing? This may be one of the most important messages the whole night. Besides the fact, hey, Jesus is with you. You're not on your own. Ask for the Holy Spirit power. That's the most important. Second most important is this. Please don't believe the hype that what you believe is idiotic and stupid and gullible and idiotic. It's not. Some of the brightest people I've ever met or read in my life love Jesus and think God is incredibly powerful and existent. So don't let snark and hype and word of mouth convince you of something you know is not true. And like I said, keep your faith strong. Prayer, it's all important. Basics. Know the word. Get in a community. Pray. And when you go off to college, I said I'd mention this before. When you go off to college and leave this community, it's such a strong community. When you leave it, find other believers. This is one of the questions there. Find other believers. Can I still be friends with my unbelieving friends? Yes, but they can't be your primary friend group. Christianity was never made to be done on your own, alone. It's a group. It's always been a group-based thing. So find a band of brothers or sisters to walk through this life with. Still stay in touch with your unbelieving friends, but they shouldn't be your primary friends or friend group. Best friends or best friends. Okay, best friend or best friends. All right.
That's so good. Can you all just show Dr.
Thank
Joe
you.
some love?